Welcome to the Art of Abundance podcast and YouTube channel. I'm so very happy you're here and you are in for a super fun conversation. And it is going to be a conversation because I have no freaking idea where this is going to go. I am so honored to have Shanti Zimmerman joining me for this conversation. And Shanti and I are these internet friends, right? These people who have come together, clashed in the space of Facebook and developed a friendship. And every time I speak with her, I learn something. And I know that's what's going to happen when people participate in our conversation, listening to what goes on and what's going to come. I also want to share that my impression is that Shanti is doing an incredible job of paving her own pathway. And a part of that is this amazing thing she's doing on Facebook that has to do with vulnerability and not maybe mastering the art of not giving a fuck. I will swear, and I'm going to open the door to that because there is so much power in what you're doing online. And I know that we'll talk about that, but it's definitely what motivated our friendship and this conversation. And I'm hoping that people, when they listen to this to us talk and then hear you, they're going to walk away from the conversation going, how can I do more of that in my own life? Because what you're doing is so powerful and so transformative. And I'm just super excited. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, I want to address the not giving any fucks, because I think this is a really interesting point. This is kind of like you see a lot of memes about I'm giving no fucks, but the truth is I give a lot of fucks, and that's probably what makes me as powerful as I am in what I do. And you on the road to no fucks given are a lot of fucks given until you get to the point of where do I want to, how much energy do I want to give to what I care about? And when I started to focus on what I care about and stop focusing on, we talked about somebody a troll or somebody who says something really negative or is really a jerk on purpose. It used to floor me. And I just came to that point where that's not what I care about. I care about this. I care about being myself. I care about sharing. I care about connecting. I care about being honest. I care about responsibility. I care about honesty. I care about respecting other people. That other stuff becomes less and less. I just don't care. But not because I'm a badass and I don't, I have a thick skin and I'm a rhinoceros, but because I stay soft, but I have clear boundaries. So it's what will I accept? What will I accept in my experience?
And you have come to this, you're a mom of 4 kids, mm-hmm. which I'm sure we're going to talk about. I have 2, and I don't know how you have 4, because that's multiply by 10, in my opinion. You've got a coaching business. You've been on this journey of self-exploration, purposefully and intentionally, for how long?
Okay. Well, that's weird because I would say my whole life, but I think consciously, my whole life, this is the path I've been on, but consciously where I picked up the thing, it was when I was pregnant with my 3rd child. So 2000 and that was 2004, but it in earnest, it happened after probably starting in 2011. Mm-hmm. Once I had my last child and he was a year old.
So I must be a slow learner because this started in 1999 for me. I'm damn, when you say that, you are on the quick path, and yep. I that's great. And I feel like I am, so who knows? Well,
I think that's all relative. I always say it took forever and it happened in an instant. It's how much time it takes for whatever is a relative experience. Because we were talking earlier, God, was it just Tuesday yesterday? How is that even possible? Right? So I think it's a relative experience that I often I just wasn't messing around. I was just and I think the grace that I had is I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't have an agenda. I didn't have a goal. I wasn't trying to reach something. It was just I wanted to know more about myself. I wanted to be as honest as I possibly could be. And in the beginning, that wasn't very honest at all. So I was appalled at my inability to be honest. just like, oh shit, I thought I was honest and I'm not at all. Okay. And then just kind of flying by the seat of my pants.
Was there a catalyst moment?
I don't know that there was like, that there was not like this huge epiphany, like it took forever to happen. And so there's in many phases, there was a lot of work and then grace, and then a lot of work and then grace. And so it wasn't like this, oh my God, my life sucks and it has to change. I don't have that like rags to riches, or it was awful and then it wasn't, except in my internal experience, because externally my life has not changed very much. Like from, you know, being a mom and having a house and the normal, very, very normal life circumstances of being human are the same. It was more an internal experience of that has been epic and monumental and like some weird sci-fi movie, but not, and also like Julie Andrews and The Sound of Music, like mixed in there with that. But there was no moment of like, this is it. I don't think that moment exists. Mm-hmm. I think there was a moment for a little bit where I thought, oh, wow. And I went through what my husband calls the year that nobody was home. Where I had like this bliss state. I didn't know what enlightenment was. I started learning about that afterwards. So that's what I mean. Like these things, just, it was like I was stumbling. I didn't know who any of these gurus out there were till afterwards. And then I didn't know that there was such a thing as an ego, or that people had a problem with it, like until after. I was like, what? It's no big deal. I don't know why you guys are all freaking out about that. But the year that I wasn't here was a year of like a continuous one threaded experience. There wasn't a lot of up and down. It was very like, and I equate it to two eyeballs with a dangling body somewhere. It was kind of the experience. You could have pushed me off a cliff and I'd been like, okay, like just kind of going with the flow. And come to find out later, this might be what people would consider enlightenment or being awakened or whatever, but it's really not. If that's what people are aiming for, I don't understand. Because like that is still here. I can still tap into that instantaneously, but it's not where I want to live from or experience from as a being. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's very interesting because my impression is this feminine interpretation of what you just described, this enlightenment, and the masculine is very different in the way that it's explained. Does that make sense to you?
My experience, like male, female, masculine, feminine is so overused right now. Mm-hmm. But like I would say that the consciousness, the continuity of consciousness, that like we're all one, there's a very masculine, that would be the masculine, but the experience of being is the feminine. Mm-hmm. And that's much more interesting to me,
me too.
like to my experience, than just sitting in this masculine, aware, observant source space. It has its also its you know, its things, but it's not the same. It's not the juice.
Yeah, that's
the silence, if you will, you know, the silent inner space that people think they want to live at, and that's where I want to stay. No, well, that's where you always are. Like you can't really change that, but the experiencing is the beingness is the feminine aspect, and we're both, well, all of us, all of it. There's no separation between what they are. They're just experienced differently.
When you started to go onto Facebook Lives, did you know what you were doing? Why did it happen?
No, I get that asked a lot. And I even have people like, you know, you should really teach people how to be on film. I'm like, why? Like, I just turn on the camera and then that's it.
You put lip gloss on and you...
For me, it's like, I'm in my living room, or I'm in my house, or I'm in my room. And that's where I'm at. And I'm chilling and I'm hanging out with whoever shows up. And there's no difference. And I think that there was a long period of time, like I remember never being able to like barely look at myself in the mirror, or barely look at photographs of myself, because I was so nitpicky and mean. There was such a mean narrative in my head about like how I looked, or how I sounded, or how my teeth are a funny color, and I have this pimple and whatever. And oh my God, I didn't brush my hair, you know, that whole thing. And that's exhausting. So I spent time getting over that, you know, integrating it, not trying to get rid of it, but just noticing, oh, there's this meanness, to the point that when I see myself now here, I'm like, oh, how cute. And I'm not distracted by how I look, or what I sound like, or if I said something wrong, or any of that. It's just, hey, we're sitting in my living room having a chat. a profound chat usually, but at least it's just a chat.
And when you first started, because I haven't been watching them maybe more than a year or something, so it's been going on for a few years, I take it.
Well, ever since we've had Facebook Live. So before Facebook Live, I was doing like 7-minute videos. So you record them and then you would upload them to Facebook. And I remember I got to go find it. The first day that I had, because I had to wait a long time. I'm in Switzerland, so I had to wait to get the privileges on my iPhone to be able to go live. There were a lot of other people being able to go live, but I was not able to. And I completely, the first time I'm on Facebook Live, I'm like, oh my God! Like freaking out like I won the lottery. And that's how it started. Like I was hot and I was sweaty and I was excited, and it's all on tape. And there's, I don't know, it may be close to between 500 and 600 videos now.
Crazy. The thing, I took a client to your videos the other day because I wanted to show her, because there was the question of like, I have my business page and I have my personal page, and I don't know if I can show up and do that on my personal page. And I was like, okay, just stop the conversation. We're going to go look at, Shanti's, what she's doing, what she's up to. And the first thing I pick had thousands of views. And I was like, see, like it's possible. So you can't.
Yeah, and the crazy part about my videos is they're not short. They're not 3 seconds. They're not 9
yeah, it was an hour and 45 minutes. Yeah,
exactly. So, and that, people told me way back, no, you only get people's attention for like 3 minutes, or 30 seconds even, or 90 seconds. I don't even know what it was. And I'm like, oh, well, those people aren't going to hang around me because I don't say anything like concise. I'm not concerned about being entertaining, although I think I am still. I want to talk. I want to be in a conversation. And it's still, every time I go live and people stay from the beginning to the end, I'm absolutely in awe. I mean, I know I'm in it for that time, but that other people are in it for that time, or that people weekly, I get inboxes, your videos have saved my life. They've changed my life. I have been able to fundamentally change my life because of your videos. And that is a reward in and of itself. That's a currency that is beyond.
What's interesting is you're at the max on your Facebook personal page. And so.
Well, you're never at a max because now we have followers.
So the followers can see all the videos. They just can't post. Is that the difference?
No, they can even comment.
Oh, I learned something new. Thank you very much.
All of my posts are set to public. If I were to not set them on public, then the followers would not see them.
Perfect. Thank you for that. So anyone listening to this could go and find your personal page and follow.
Yep.
Amazing. Give me an example, or give everyone an example of like maybe one in particular that really rocked your world.
I would say, I'm like, oh God, that's what people ask, because I have no clue what I talked about last week, let alone what I talked about a year ago. But I would say that at least last 6 have been off the charts. They all are, but the last 6, there's like an energy it's kind of like a momentic energy that's kind of coming in that have been, there's tons prior to that on parenting or reparenting, which was something I don't know what I'm doing right now. Like I'm kind of in a hiatus energetically. It's like, whoa, just stop. We're organizing until we have a clear intention to what goes forward. A lot of reparenting stuff, a lot of emotional alchemy stuff. Today I'll be talking about facing the darkness within yourself, because it's if you're trying to get rid of any part of yourself, if you're trying to deny, no, that's not me, I don't have that, you don't feel whole. And so you have to kind of admit and accept in yourself that all the dark things that you think the world shouldn't have actually reside within yourself, and it's part of you, and so that you can take full responsibility for your experience. And I just talk about what's interesting to me, or what I get the impetus to talk about. And I keep showing up. There's no plan or strategy, or there's no like, I think it's never planned before. I tried for a while to like do, okay, on Monday, I would tell people what it's going to be about, but really I don't know what I'm going to talk about till the day, really. And even that will change sometimes from the morning.
Things will happen to you. Like I know one that I watched recently that I think even inspired this conversation was working through an experience with a client or a past
Mm-hmm.
client and the experience of that, and you were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And without naming names, without being, I mean, what I love about what you do is you're like, I'm owning the parts of this that are mine. And here's what I'm working through. And it doesn't have to be so much about the person, right? It's about you setting your boundaries, you figuring out, how do I navigate this and still feel it? Like, you're not pushing it off. You're not trying to make other people wrong, but can you maybe even, because I want to make sure people can feel into this, and maybe you can even talk about, you know, a little bit of that particular conversation, just so people can know.
We're talking about boundaries, right? And I think a lot of people are confused about what boundaries are. So my favorite definition of what boundaries are is personal nourishment. So if I'm not feeling nourished, I don't have my boundaries. Like, boundaries are not about keeping other people out. They're not about defense. They're more of an offensive kind of, not like I need to be defended, but like, this is, the more clear I am in my being, the more it will appear I have clear boundaries. But and in order, and responsibility is a big deal. So what a lot of us try to do is, and we've been taught or conditioned, is we take responsibility for everybody's behavior, our own, the other person's. Some catastrophic thing happens on the planet and we feel like it's our fault. We've learned so much to a deep level to take responsibility for no. We have to take, the only place we can take responsibility is ourselves. So I can take responsibility for my own projections, my triggers, my emotions, my perception, all of that in any relationship with somebody else. What I cannot ever take responsibility for is someone else's behavior. And that's clarity right there. So if I cannot take, like, if somebody comes and attacks me physically, mentally, with words, whatever, that's a choice they make. I have nothing to do with that choice that they make. And I also have nothing to do with the behavior that they're having, but I can be like, ooh, this hurts. And I can take responsibility for my judgments of them, because that's happening over here. It's not happening over there in their body, it's happening over here. And I can work through that. And then I can choose whether I'm going to stay in connection with that person or not. And when I remove somebody from my life, this is a true philosophy. This is something I really live, is my love is unconditional. My presence is not. I mean, there's a very simple physics. There's one body right here. I'm limited to energy and focus and where I put my attention. But also, like, I can love somebody and completely let them go. Completely, for the love of me. For the love of me. Do I want to put my energy into this exchange because it matters to me? Or is it very clear to me that the choices being made on the other side are just a no for me? I respect their choice. And I just remove myself from that. And there's no like hoopla about it. Although it's not something I do like instant, there's some agony for me in the process. There's some really diving deep. Am I running away? Am I pushing something away? Do I need to look at this? What it always comes to me, what is my responsibility in this, and what can I do? And I just answer those two things and follow them. And that doesn't mean that when somebody is mean and nasty that I don't have mean and nasty retorts in my head, because I do. Like, I have like 50 really gnarly responses, because if we've ever been down and hurt, shamed, we know what that feels like. So that means we have the potential to create harm to somebody else. So I know exactly what to say to really inflict some serious, emotional pain onto somebody. And I watch that unfold and I accept that. Okay, I see that. I understand. I allow this beast to really like have its way with itself. I don't write an email. I don't respond from that beast, but I allow that to be there. And until that quiets down and I can truly hear the intuitive guidance that's inside of me, what do I need to do right now? And usually it goes against all the things the world thinks I should do. Right? Mm-hmm. And I just do that. And it's kind to me. For the love of myself, I'm not going to hang around somebody who clearly, for whatever, even if it's a momentary thing, hates my guts. So I just remove myself from the situation. And it's different in intimate relationships, obviously. I'm much more invested, but somebody on the internet, like on Facebook, I don't have a relationship to,
Right.
it's a whole different story of where do I want my attention.
Can people who are in jobs or situations where they're around people but they can't just cut them out, they're going to have to show up again and again, can people use that same teaching?
Yep.
How would they do that?
Yep. If it's first off, I don't want to advocate anybody staying in an abusive situation, right? And the way to know that you have to take responsibility. If you're in a situation you hate, let's say you hate your job, you hate your boss, you hate your colleague, what are you doing there? You've got to find a place where you're responsible for that experience. Like, I choose every day of my life to get up and go to this place with these people. And like, to accept that I do that. That's my choice. Nobody's forcing, yes, I might need money, but nobody's forcing me to go to that job with those people. Like, I get up and I put myself in that situation. First step of responsibility. Okay, now that I'm in the situation, what can I do? What can I do so that I'm more comfortable? What can I do so I don't feel like impinged upon? Like, so it starts to an internal thing, and then it's, how do I say this and remain totally neutral? So I'm not like inflicting wounding. So, I'm like, I'm saying this is my boundary. And here's the craziest part about boundaries. Nobody else has to respect them. Only I do. If I respect my boundary and I continue to hold that clarity within myself, this is my boundary. I'm not going to work after 6 p.m. That's my boundary. But I'm also willing to take whatever collateral that means. If that means I lose this job, that's what it means. But this is so clear to me, I'm not going to work after 6 p.m. And that's my boundary. And I'm not going to fight. I have nothing to prove. I'm just really clear. This is my no. Or I'm not going to work with this person if they continue to talk to me like this. I'm happy to work with you, but if you're going to call me names or hit me below the belt, making derogatory statements, I'm not going to work with this person. I'm not. And I will do whatever it takes and go to the people I need to go to and make that happen, make that change. It's about not being like, oh my God, I can't do something about this. We can always do something within the relationship. And my own personal experience, I've never been disrespected for any boundaries that I speak. Never.
Have boundaries been a challenge for you, or have they always?
Well, I used to think that it was my fault. Everything's my fault. So I have to fix the other person. I have to fix myself. I have to fix the whole situation. So I didn't even know what boundaries were. Like, what? And it was, it took over and over and over realizing, oh, I don't have to take responsibility for somebody else's crap. Yes, somebody else can have had a horrible life. So I had what people would consider not a nice, beautiful life experiences. I'm still choosing the way I'm choosing. That person chooses the way they choose. That's up to them. It's not up to me. And so I just don't take responsibility for the person being mean to me. I don't take responsibility for their meanness. For like 3 seconds, it hurts like holy hell. And then I'm like, wait, this isn't mine. I'm not being mean. Mm-hmm. That's all I care about. I'm not being mean. I don't care. If you can go ahead and be mean, you're allowed. You're allowed to disagree with me. You're allowed to not like me. You're allowed to hate me. You're allowed to be rude to me. You're allowed to disrespect me. That's allowed.
Yeah. I remember one time when we were talking, you said something that was really, really helpful to me, or I interpreted it, that it was like checking myself to say, how am I doing this? So like, let me back up. It's like, I'm saying to myself, I would never do that to someone. Mm-hmm. It's being done to me, but I am very, very clear I would never do that. And right there in that moment, you maybe reinforced it, or you helped me to stand in a more firmer place, that was really meaningful to like notice that. Mm-hmm. Does that make any sense?
Well, it's also is this if somebody says you're a purple cow, usually you're not going to take that very personally. But if somebody says, your work is shit, there would be a moment. It's like, stop for 1 second. Say, is this my experience? Is my work shit? Is that my personal experience? Like that we take a step back and we realize who am I being right now? Mm-hmm. It is that, who am I being right now? And I'm not a poor thing because somebody's mean to me. That was a big one for me. Oh, fuck, poor me. This hurts. It's not fair. This shouldn't be happening. No, somebody's being mean. It's a fact. Somebody's being mean to me. This is real. Like, I don't, like where we stop believing ourselves. We start to talk ourselves out of what we know to be true in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
No, and there's a naivety to that. And when we're naive, we're open to more trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to get away from meanness in the world. When it's looking us in the face, we will deny it. Instead of going, no, there is meanness in the world. There are mean people with evil intent. That's true. That's not some made up conspiracy theory. It's part of our human psyche. If you have a human psyche, it's a possibility for you. And when you look at it, oh, that's meanness. And you don't turn away from it. And you don't say that shouldn't be happening. That's meanness. I'm not playing with meanness. I'm not picking up that hot potato. I'm going to refocus myself over here, and that person can do whatever they want.
Beautiful.
I've had people flip out on Facebook and like call me a charlatan, and I block them and they like scream the whole internet down. I had people like send me screenshots. This lady is, I'm like, meanness is kind of like this viral thing, right? And let her get it out. It doesn't mean shit to me. It doesn't. It really doesn't. I don't want to give it my attention. It's okay. Thank you for sending me this. Thank you for loving me. And I'm good. I have no counter.
And part of, so the shadow work, because I'm super, you and I are just so synchronized with the things that we're working on and the things we're talking about. So shadow work, meanness. So there's an aspect of ourselves, just like you said, like who can be that, who can do those things. We have the ability inside of us. We have that aspect.
We have the potential.
Yes, we have the potential.
Mm-hmm.
The more we don't try to hide that potential from ourselves and say it's not there, the more we actually create the space for less of the acting out and more of the standing in our truth. But I'd love to hear you talk about that.
Right. So in every single person is the potential for absolute pure goodness and absolute pure evil. That's the way, that's human. This is how it is. I mean, don't believe me? Look at history. Like, there's a whole argument. Like, look at how life is hard enough, how we learn to fend for ourselves. And you add human maliciousness to that, the ability to torture one another emotionally, physically, mentally. There's no other animal on the planet that has that, the ability to truly torture each other and be mean and vindictive. That's part of our psyche. So in me lives a murderer, and in me lives the saint. And to deny either of those, in my experience, is to put blinders on to my wholeness. Just because the potential of being a murderer is there doesn't mean I need to go, oh God, that doesn't exist. And you go, oh, that potential is there. I'm highly aware of that potential, and I choose the saint, or at least in that direction. I don't choose the murder. The murder can pop up and be wanting to kill somebody in the car, and not normally, but let's talk about road rage. There's this murderous energy in me that's like, fuck you all, I hope you all die. But it's momentary, and then you go on with your life. But recognizing that is in you and going, whoa, ooh, that's in there, that I'm capable of great harm. And yet I'm choosing, because I see it, I have choice. If I ignore it, the worst version of ignoring the dark side of myself is that I react externally with violence. So instead of just having road rage, I actually shoot somebody. Thinking, because the thought process goes, I have the right to do that, because I have not checked the malicious intent within myself. I keep telling myself that malicious intent does not exist. No, it does. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with my malicious intent when it's inside me and not directed at me or at somebody else, because then it is pretty malicious. But noticing I have the potential for that maliciousness gives me the choice to choose not that. Consciously. Like, oh, there's some really mean aspects of myself that pop up. They don't usually come out of my mouth or out of my fingers when I'm typing, but man, they're there. And for me, my personal brain chemistry, how I work, it's always me first. You fucking piece of shit. And I'm like, dang, it's like my whole world. I'm like, okay, whoa. And then I have to come back to the conclusion that, holy crap, there's an aspect of myself that actually treats me like this, And instead of trying to push it away, I just bring it closer. Like, what do you really need, man? what is haunting you that you need to treat me like this? Like, what's going on? And bringing it closer instead of pushing it away, and also letting it know you can be here. You don't have to go anywhere, but you will never drive the bus. So you can be here. You can be this thing in my experience. Here's where I live. I live in my heart. You're allowed to live here, but there's no way that you're ever going to have rain here.
And the more I love those aspects, accept them as part of me, the less they actually show up. Like,
yep. And when they do, it's like such a clear, like, whoa, right? It's clarity. It's not hidden anymore.
I heard something that really made me go back. So my daughter has very light Asperger's. And when she was young, particularly, the rage inside of her was so tremendous. And when I heard this teaching, I thought of this situation where when she was going through those times of rage, the only thing I could do was just hold her tight and accept all of her, not resist the rage, just love all aspects of her. And I thought, well, that's very similar to what we're doing for ourselves when we have that part erupting. And sometimes it may just be too big. And so we know enough to stay maybe at home, maybe not go out, maybe not get on Facebook Live at that moment,
right?
Because there isn't a helpful aspect, but we need to just hug it. And I'm curious, as a parent, like, does that resonate?
I would say everything I teach and share is because I'm a parent. Very similar. Like my daughter had massive fear issues, one of them, and would be like rainstorms and things, and she would like be crying with her hands in her mouth in the corner, would be like, oh, come on, don't be afraid, it's okay, we're here, trying to soothe her. But what we were actually doing the whole time is telling her it's not okay how you feel. It's not okay how you feel. And there was this big opening, and I recognized that when you're in the middle of fear or anything, rage, and somebody says you shouldn't feel that way, or it's okay, or not in a good way, like, oh, trying to get you out of it, that doesn't help. Like, it doesn't bring you out of it. And so the next time it happened, there was this huge opportunity open up, and I looked at her and I said, it's okay to be afraid. Of course you're afraid of the rain. It's okay. I'm just going to sit here next to you, like, not touch her. And I'm just here. I'm like, it's okay. It's cool. It's okay that you're afraid. And over a course of a very short amount of time, she stopped being afraid of shit. Like, she stopped having this intense reaction to reality and being alive. It was just like, oh, I'm allowed to feel afraid. The first time, my older two, they said, I hate you, and had this moment. First off, I realized I wasn't going to die. I'm like, oh, this isn't that bad. This isn't that bad. And they went and they had their time. They came back, and I said, of course, it's okay that you hate me. It's okay that it's not the first time. It won't be the last time. And it's okay. It's absolutely okay to feel that way. There's nothing, and they're like, yeah, but then they realize it hurts. It doesn't feel good. I don't like it. And I'm like, well, that's something we can talk about. But having that feeling is perfectly normal. It's okay. I don't like you all the time either. I mean, what a ridiculous, expectation. But what I do know is the love that we have, the foundation that we build, that's always there. That's never going to change. You can hate me all you want. So it's okay for you to express who you are, how you are, and not to move in and try to fix everything. And my children taught me that too. Same daughter. I don't like being, I have this abandonment thing. And so, like, if something would happen with her and she would close down, I'm like, oh my God, let me in. And she would just get closer and closer. And I'm like, oh, this isn't helping. And both my husband and I have even told her today that, like, we had to learn to kind of like, just wait. Give her the space until she was ready. There's other kids, they need right away, instant connection, instant attention, instant knowing that I'm being held. And she's just like, I need not anymore. Like, she's really come out of that space. But it's like being willing, like knowing that I can't go in and fix every little thing that happens to them in life, that they have to learn to navigate that. Even when it comes to like school stuff, I will ask them, can I call your teacher? Because I would be on the phone right now with your teacher. But I got to ask them, can I call your teacher? And if they say no, then I respect that.
Teaching your kids about shadows.
Mm-hmm. Well, they see it every day.
Right? And interesting, because I mean, as you know, as a parent, it's going to be about what you do, how you show up, not so much what you're saying, because they
Right.
tune that out. So I'm
Well, I also
thinking,
say that we say a lot of stuff that's not congruent, and they know immediately.
mm-hmm.
They know immediately if we're not congruent. If we're telling them something that we're not doing, it's out of congruency. It's not in alignment with an integrity. And kids are instant, and then they don't trust you. And that's the beginning of the breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
You say something and do another, and they're very, very aware that there's hypocrisy happening.
Yeah.
And that's where the breakdown starts.
I hadn't really thought of it, because the shadow work, while I spent many, many years meditating and studying Buddhism, and there was an aspect of that, of understanding all aspects of yourself. But what I've been focused on more in the past few years has been very, very targeted to shadow work. However, my daughter's 20, my son is 13. They have been raised in an environment where all parts of themselves are welcome in the home.
Yep.
And when I see my daughter as a young adult moving out in the world, it's interesting. It's been very interesting, because the world outside has not been taught the way that we teach inside the home. And so she's still experiencing, it probably comes across as very adult, very mature, because she deals with the world in this very mature way. I mean, many times I feel like she's more mature than I am, because
I have that too.
she's just known this for so long, and it's such a part of her. But I'm curious, just what your experience has been, because there's we think it's not just rainbows and unicorns. Like, we teach them a certain way, and then they go out into the world, and it's different than what they get at home. And
my kids already have that at school.
Yeah.
My kids already experience the disconnect at school, right? That they realize that we've talked about masks, about how, I wear masks. Cool. Everybody wears masks. There's nothing wrong with masks. It's just important to know that where you are in that. Where are you? And masks are just aspects of yourself. It's not you. It's just an aspect of yourself, and it's okay. But the awareness of that, and my son he's turning 18. He's been in an apprenticeship, meaning he's been in the workforce since he was 16. I can't protect them from life. But my kids know that they're, first and foremost, they know that they have their own backs. Second, they know that we have their back no matter what. There's nothing. It was funny today at the table at lunch. I forget what happened, but Quinn said something about I told him I was going to throw away the TV. If you throw away the TV, Dad's going to break up with you. He's 8. And my girls were like, what? All of us were like, where did that come from? I'm like, over a TV? I highly doubt it. And then my 16-year-old, she said, Daddy wouldn't even leave Mom if she killed somebody. Right? But this goes to the core of, like, we have each other's back. We don't just abandon each other no matter how whatever's happening, whatever's coming at them. They know that there's always this place. And of course, we're not going to be here forever, but they have each other, and they have each other's back. And that's beautiful to see. They can be arguing, and then there's an emotional crisis or something happens at school. That kid comes in, everybody turns off whatever they're doing and is present to that one person, present to the listening, present to the, that's the biggest feedback I get from their teachers as well, is that they have competencies that are not gradable, but that stand out. And their ability to listen, their ability to articulate not only their feelings, but those of others, their communication, their desire to create the harmonic, their ability to reflect and to take responsibility for their own thing and not point their finger. Like, these kinds of things teachers have been telling us for years. Like, this is amazing. I can't believe, that they're like that. And I'm like, well, I can, because that's all that matters to me.
Damn
like,
straight.
Whatever grades they get, great. I don't give a shit. Like, I support their school because that's the law here and we choose to live here. But school's not nearly the most important thing.
Yeah. Then you have kids that are very different, right? So my daughter is very school oriented, very like methodical with that whole system. And my son couldn't be further on the other side of the spectrum. And he's willing to play the game, but he sees it as a game. And
that's all my kids are in that. All of my kids. It's like you're playing for points. What points do you want? Where do you want to hang out? And my kids could, like, the potential is my favorite thing. Potential is right here. It's not happening anywhere else. But the potential that they have to, like, be in higher classes and whatever, it's there. And they all admit, I'm too lazy. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, you own that. You own that this is apparently, creating roadblocks to certain kinds of education available in Switzerland, but you're making that choice right now. And I mean, the way the world is now, there's nothing ever closed. The doors are never closed to what somebody wants to do.
That's right.
And that's really and because, I mean, I live in the virtual world of working on the internet. It's like, I know what's possible out there. So I'm not education oriented in that way. I'm life oriented. What are you living? Who are you being right now? Do you like yourself right now? Like, because and we talk a lot, like, because shame has no place in our home. And it's like, the only reason that shame is created is because you do something that you are afraid somebody else would find out. So if something feels like you don't want somebody to find out, maybe don't do it. Like, it's really that simple. And so the conversation's on the table. My older son, I bring porn probably monthly, at least once a month, if not long, to the table. How much are you doing? Do you know how it affects you? Like, how it affects, like, your view of that aspect of yourself. I just keep talking about it. And as a parent, I feel like sometimes we're terrified of these subjects, but I talk about it like you're talking about bacon or eggs or whatever you're doing. It's like, this is something that's important. We need to talk about it.
Yeah. Wow. So what are you working on now?
Me personally, or I don't know.
I just know something is in there. You're focused on the shadow work.
I wouldn't say that I'm focused. Am I focused on that? No, it just happens to be, it's there. It's how can you not be, like, you can live in the wholly positive, perfect, utopic space. But then you're going to get in a car accident, or you're going to stub your toe, or you're going to get sick, or something's going to happen, and it's going to call you to look at the aspects of yourself that you're denying. Like, I always say, deny nothing. Nothing. It's like, if you deny nothing, everything has space. And the things that you don't water die. They just die. Like, leaves fall off a tree and die. It's really nothing more. You just don't focus. So, like, people, I think shadow work, like anything, can become addictive, can be something that we glom onto.
Right.
And so I wouldn't say that I focused on that. The focus of what I'm doing changes all the time. But I think the underlying thing is, who am I right now? Who am I being right now? And my number one subject that I love right now is responsibility. Because I really think that freedom of being comes directly from that. From taking full responsibility for the full experience, not other people's experience, not other people's behavior, but my own. And being able to just be myself, because I'm living within my own responsibility, or my own integrity, if you will. What's coming from me, I do not know. Like, right now, I get this really clear, remain silent kind of thing. So I really don't have it. Once I do, everybody will know, because I just don't not share shit.
It's beautiful. I totally respect that. When I had this past month occur with a lot of activity, like so much activity, more activity than I was really ready for, but I rose to it. I'm a generator in human design. Yeah. I'm like, I can do this. And now I'm about to go into a cocoon phase. And what I find interesting in this cocooning that is it's just like, slow down, take your time. You don't have to create so much. You can really back away, like all these feelings. What I also notice is this huge opening to God and understanding God in a new way. And it's so fascinating to me, because I went from no God for most of my life. That was why I was drawn to Buddhism. I just couldn't go there. And so Buddhism was awesome, because I didn't have to deal with the God concept.
Right.
Then in 2010, that blew up, and all of a sudden God and this concept came into my life, and it's been there ever since. But I will say to you that over the course of building a business and doing that generator thing of getting things done, it will ebb and flow.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden it was just like, there's nothing but this. This is really where all my attention, where my meditations are going.
Yep,
And
me
I'm
too.
just, oh, interesting. So I was curious, like, I wanted to share that with you and see what was.
But I just went through a devotional practice. Like, I knew I was going to do this practice, and it's 35 lessons. And I had no idea what that meant. But I knew that I was going to do it. And it wound up being 3 hours a day, 35 days in a row. I was like, there were times I'm like, what am I doing? But I couldn't stop doing it. It was like so potently important for me to do this in the way that I was doing it. I'm sure I could have done it differently. I could have rushed through it. I could have not journaled as much, whatever it was. It wound up being 3 hours. And I always look at, like, where am I spending the most of my time? Because that's my priority. That's how I know what my priorities are, is where am I spending the most amount of my time, right? And then I know what's important to me. That's how I determine that. And if something is taking a lot of my time and it's not important to me, I need to change that. Like, if I'm watching TV all day for 5 weeks or whatever, it's like, okay, maybe this is, I mean, not that happens, but that would be an example of it. But I really feel like at this time, spiritual practice, whether it's God or source or universe or whatever, sacred geometry, whatever it is that's like really pulling you inward towards you, it really feels like it's more and more important. And for me specifically, I'm not allowed to act from any other space. I'm not allowed to take action from any other space. And that's really weird. Like you, I'm a manifestor generator. So it's really like, I can pull off some amazing shit. Like, I can put a course out there and make a shit ton of money, and like this, but I'm not allowed to act from like that's a space of any kind of, it has to be an eternal, infinite impetus from now on. It cannot be like just the personal excitement that I get from doing the work that I do, or the thing that was enough momentum. Whatever's coming next is much more profound, much more collaborative. It's something that it's of course it's about getting, because giving is, but it's much more about like, how is this affecting the whole aspect? Not even that's even too heady for it. It's really heart space, and I cannot act on anything else. I feel it immediately, right? The normal revving up that I feel, and I start to do something, and then it's like somebody just puts their foot, slams it on the brake, and I'm like, whoa, what the heck? And I can't go forward. And so the message I'm getting really clearly is I'm not allowed to do anything of that nature until April. I don't know what that means. I have no clue what, if anything's, maybe April comes and nothing happens. I have no idea. It feels all like big, like, oh, there's going to be this big, explosion of whatever. I have no clue. And I think trusting that, staying in that space, being willing to like kind of bring in the new leadership that calls forth, that is like, that's the edge for me right now, because it is leadership, but it's, it's going from masterminds to round tables.
When you say I can't, I'm not allowed, what does that mean?
It's that break. It's like, even if I try, there's this instantaneous energetic break that says, no, this is not the way anymore. Like the push through, the immense amount of energetic power that I just possess as a being, that's not the way anymore. Just that by itself.
Yeah. Beautiful. You said something about like the excitement that I get from doing something, like that's no longer working for you. And I think that's what's blown up for me in the past month. Like, so you encapsulated it in a sentence that could have taken me many paragraphs to try and describe, but it may not have been as good. So that said, I feel like this has been happening to you a lot, particularly over this past year. Like what you're describing to us here has been being very, very clearly given to you in many different ways, teachings. So what happens, because I'm still working through this, because it's like part of it, I'll also add this little piece. What I've noticed is that in my journey, I've noticed the power of desire. Desire is incredibly powerful to get us to be motivated, to move forward, to get out of our comfort zone. Like without the desire for something, it's for many years, we don't all have to operate this way, but this is how much of humanity works. If there isn't a desire, you won't push yourself to that next place. So I started playing with that for myself and for my clients and the exercises that I encourage. However, that starts to blow up too, right? Just like we were talking about shadows, like all these teachings just blow up at some point and you're like, I don't need them anymore. They're not, not helpful.
And it's so important to be able to like let go and go to the next thing, the impetus too.
And to not judge whatever it is you're feeling. So if you want to go make $1 billion, know that that's being called to you for a reason. Pursue it. Don't let someone tell you don't do that, or you're being greedy or what have you, right? Go for it, and then allow the journey to unfold and show you what you're going to be learning from that experience. So I'm totally lost in this thought, but I think it's just so interesting because these things blow up, the desire blows up, and you're like, so now what am I creating from? What place am I creating from now? And my impression is this incredible, open, loving wholeness that we can create from creates very different things than the traditional world is encouraging us to create. So,
and so it kind of feels like no man's land a little bit. But it also feels to me the most natural, but it's like there's so much conditioning that has to be kind of like brushed aside, like fear of not making enough money, fear of what success looks like, fear of people thinking I'm not professional, right? Like one of my friends said, I didn't say this. So I'm pretty sure I'm taking the month of March off. I still work with my private clients, but off of the internet. And one of my friends was like, that's like business suicide. And I'm like, what? If I can't walk away and completely close the doors to my business for a month and be okay, that's intense. Like, I don't even want to know what that's like. So creating the freedom to be able to be like, hey, I need to like just shut in, not shut down, but shut in and go even deeper into this because I know that there's something here. And for me, it really is from the mastermind, this idea of coming together and really working together to a round table, to a space where every opinion and every experience matters and informs the whole in whatever we're creating from this point on. It's coming from the space of wholeness, the space of whatever you're being called to do right now, just do it. And whatever that is, if it means going for a walk and not coming back for 3 months, like trusting the impetus that's coming from inside the next level of your growth curve. You're following your growth trajectory. My growth trajectory happens to be like the expansion of my own consciousness. And then I just continuously share what is coming up. What is happening right now? What's the edge for me? And the edge for me is this faith and trust. I mean, the word faith, I would have rolled my eyeballs at you a year ago. Like, oh, please, But it's like this faith in what you can't see, but is true. And like what I know to be true: responsibility, integrity, justice, true justice, not the kind of justice bullshit that we're sold in society about like an eye for an eye and this revenge kind of crap, but like actual, honest, straightforward integrity coming together in that place of like, I can live from my heart. I can survive and even thrive financially from that place. And if I don't give a shit because I'm going to live here anyway. So where am I coming from? Who am I being? What am I being? What is my actual potential, if you will? It's not out there anywhere. It's right here. And like the concerns of before, like building a business and whatever, they're just not there anymore. If that is what I'm going to do, then it will happen. And if it's not, then it won't. And guess what? I won't die. Like, I really don't know. Like, am I retiring in April? Am I closing down shop? I have no idea. Am I opening up some other programs? I don't know. I really don't. But I know that like, it's not my job to think about it even right now. Every time I try, it's that break is put on. It's like, no. This is not your work. Your work is this devotional work. Your work is making sure that you're spending every single day tapping into yourself deeper and deeper. It's, for me, I know very clearly from my own, whatever it is I'm here to do, it's about everything coming to meet at the heart center. So you have like, let's take the chakra system for a really good metaphor, right? There's the upper chakras, And then there's the even cosmic chakras. They're saying there's no 12 or something. There's all this. And then below that are like the more grounding chakras and all of that. And it all meets at the pinnacle of the heart. All of it. And if I'm not coming from that place, I don't know where to come from. Like if I try too hard to come from my intellect, or I try too hard to come from like a mental space, or I try too hard to even spiritualize something, it's not working. If I try too hard to like push through it with my physical abilities, it's not working anymore. So I only have one gateway. And that's coming from my heart. And it was interesting because today I was thinking, well, why don't I feel like all this like expansive love that I felt, previously, like these epic things. And there was like just this laughter inside. It's like, what makes you think you're not right now? Like, what if this is just your normal and you're expecting some kind of like, and like how much we can interfere with just like, I just want to live from this place. I want to bring forth the good, the holy, and the beautiful. And that's it. And that means I don't deny any part of any aspect of the experience, including this, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing right now experience.
Do you think that there's something happening at a very universal level in spite of what people, have been conditioned to believe, expect, think they're supposed to do? Mm-hmm. There's something happening that's kind of taking over people in a way where business might lose its luster, but there's just a lot of resistance to letting go of that drive, letting go of the drive. But I'm just curious what you feel like. Is there a pull going on of more and more and more heart-centered desire for heart center, but then not being able to make the rest of the world fit into that place, and therefore you sort of throw up your hands a bit?
Oh, I think that for me, there's a cusp. And I say we, but I mean me, because I can only speak from my own experience. Yeah. I don't know what's happening for anybody else. I make assumptions, and I like to think I'm not alone, but I don't actually know what, like, and I'll talk about the collective. It's a different sense that I get, but I don't know like specifically unless somebody's giving me permission to truly tap into what's going on with them personally. But I think that, I don't know about business per se, but I think that there's a hunger. I feel there's a hunger for just realness, honesty, truth, people interacting from a place of integrity. When something is bought, it's bought from resonance, not from fear or I need this or I'm going to die. That resonance starts to be the new currency. Like, oh, I really like this. I think it will add, not that we can be added to, but it will add to my understanding of myself. Or it will add to my sense of liking myself. It will add to my sense of being beautiful. It will add to my sense of aesthetic, whatever I want. It's going to just add to what I am. It's not because I'm lacking something. There's actually really nothing that can be taken or given. I'm already whole as it is. But that as far as the sales process goes, we're looking to not being manipulated anymore. I think that is what a lot of people, even when they don't know it yet, are sick of. It has a really and of course we have our own responsibility. If I'm manipulated, it's because I've allowed myself to be manipulated. It's a choice pattern that I've been making, maybe not consciously, but the only way to be manipulated is because I'm not doing the work on myself. And I'm not looking at that aspect. But it's no longer, it doesn't feel, we automatically feel when a commercial is trying to make us feel like shit. Or, and it's like, ew, this doesn't feel good, but I need to buy it. And then you buy it, but it doesn't help anything. It's not an actual, I would say from that, yes. And I think also we possess all the technology in the world that we need to like get off of anything that's hurting the planet. And we're not taking those choices as a cohesive unit, but it's there. So I think the possibilities are arising. And what choices we make, I don't know. I know what choices I make, but what choices we make as a collective humanity, I have no idea. I don't think anybody knows. I like the romantic story that like everybody's gonna, choose better, but I know too well the human psyche, right? And so, but there's the fact too, is that over history, we have gotten more and more peaceful. We have every reason as a human to be bitter, to be angry, to hate each other, to kill each other, to pillage, to rape, to take. We have every reason on the planet to feel that way and to react from that. And more of us don't than do. Mm-hmm. And that's enough for me.
Yeah, that's right.
So
beautiful.
And over time, let more of us choose the good, if you will, than choose the bad. Mm-hmm. Like history, if you look at it, history says so. We have less war than we ever have, even though we see it more in our faces. Mm-hmm. The war is no longer, we're more peaceful than we ever have been on the planet in history, in written history.
I totally agree. I love that you shared that, because the impression sometimes is very different than that. And it's beautiful. And I love this conversation. Is there anything else that we should add?
I don't know. We could talk forever.
Channel. What else are they wanting?
If I could like tell anybody anything, it's whatever you're going through right now, it's okay. Wherever you are, if you feel like you're at the bottom or you're at the top, it's okay where you are. Like every single path has its wisdom. Nobody can say, I have some deep opinions about certain things. I'm allowed those things, those opinions. But that doesn't mean that if your path is different to my opinion, that your path is wrong. Right? It's like I can see the validity in every single path, and there's wisdom in every path that anybody is on. And I think that as long as you're taking that wisdom, whatever that means to you, you're in the right place. I think so many of us feel like, oh my God, what am I doing here? Or that worse one, what am I doing here again? How did I get to this place again? And instead, when I go there now, I'm like, oh, I'm back again. I'm back where I'm kicking my teeth and my own guts in. Yay! At least I'm aware that this is where I'm at. And I just kind of lay there and allow the turmoil and the agony to move through me, so it goes quicker. I don't have to push myself out of the discomfort, knowing that this is just a part of it. I'm not going to stay here forever.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And I hope people come and check out the Facebook, follow Shanti Zimmerman. I'll warn everyone, she might piss you off at times. She pisses me off, but that's a good thing.
And here's the thing, like, it's okay. Like, we don't have to ever agree. It has no, this is my thing. As long as it stays respectful and we can have a conversation, we're not supposed to agree on everything.
No.
We're not supposed to.
And every time you piss me off, I've learned something. So thank you for that.
It's never end. I have to say, like, because people say, oh, well, you do that to piss people off. No, I never, ever with intention, ever write or do anything to piss somebody off. That is never my intention. I understand. I had to come to that place of understanding that that's just going to happen and there's not much I can do about it. And it can be simple things, like something I don't even think about pisses people off. And I'm like, what? Huh? Something else that I put like all my attention into, doesn't phase anything. So I just learned that that's just a part of speaking your truth all the time, is that not everybody's going to like it all the time. I don't like it all the time. I just do what I know is right for me. And often that's sharing the things that are hard.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, thank you for being you. Thank you for paving your own pathway.
Yeah.
I love you.
Thank you very much.
Namaste.
For real, yo.